Hi everybody and welcome to Down the Rabbit Hole for this week. This week I'm going to be talking to you about some of the quilts in Material Obsession 1 that I don't own anymore. Now what I'm going to do is put a picture of them up next to me while I'm talking about them because they are gone from my collection, and I'm going to show you in just 1 minute why. So this is the reason that I don't own all of my quilts anymore. This rack here, all the way along here, is where I store all my quilts. Some of the quilts are ones that are really special that I could never part with. Some of them are quilts that are still earning their keep. They're still, they get shown, and they're, you know, patterns that are active, and they get taken to classes and all of those sorts of things. And some of them are archival quilts, ones that I could never get rid of because they're special ones from the books or what have you. Each one of these racks here is 3 racks deep, so I've actually taken some out at the moment. You probably see at the back it's not quite full because I've got them out to be showing you in the next couple of weeks. We've been going through pulling out all the Material Obsession ones, but in here, along with lots of my quilt patterns, are lots of class samples. So this is a class sample from a hand quilting class, for example. These are all little doll quilts and things from recent programs, and embroidery patterns and stuff like that. You can probably see here all the little doll quilts on the wall, so I rotate those around every now and then when I get bored of them. Most of them are patterns, some of them are from programs that I've done before, but they're all in here as well, all stacked up waiting to go. There are things from old books. There's some of my bag patterns. It's Tweedledee. We'll be talking about all these things as we go along. But as you can see, this is all absolutely chock full. This is a new quilt nobody's seen yet, so you'll see that. That's hanging at the Australian Modern Quilt Show in a couple of weeks, so anyone who's going will be able to see that, and I'll make sure and put a photo up. Might talk about it too because it's a special one. I made that one in memory of somebody very special. Yeah, so in here are all of my quilts stacked 3 rows deep. I've got all the Material Obsession ones out at the moment. There's a couple over here waiting to be shown to you in the next couple of weeks. And next I'll be rotating through all of the Material Obsession 2 ones ready for you. But yeah, that's why I can't keep them all, because you can see it's chock full and I'm not done. So every now and then I sell some, I give them away to friends. My kids have some, my in-laws have one. Like, you know, there are a lot of quilts around the place. I do sell them sometimes, not very often, but every now and then it gets so full that some have to go. So that is why the next 3 quilts I'm going to talk to you about don't live here anymore. So the first quilt that I'm going to tell you about is called Candy Shop. Candy Shop was one of the, in fact it may well have been the first quilt that I made for the book, that was specially made for the book. There were a couple of quilts that we already had in the shop that were patterns already, that were rolling around in the shop. But once we got the contract to write the book, we specifically made quilts for that book. So this was the first one that we ever made. All of the fabric in it is from a company that Kathy had been working with, making some baby quilts before we opened the shop and everything. I'm not sure that she exists anymore. It was called Red Plum Linen, and she was printing her own fabrics and making children's bed linens with them. And they were these beautiful, like really shabby chic, you know, at that time it was just so in and trendy, and I just thought the fabrics were absolutely heaven. So we had to have some things made, and I had a big car accident, very big car accident, and broken a whole lot of stuff just before we opened the shop. And I had to have an operation and have a whole lot of pins and things taken out of my body post car accident. And when I got home from the hospital, I was very stiff and sore, and Kathy had brought over this huge bag full of red plum linen for me to make a quilt out of for the book. And I remember thinking, oh no, I can't possibly sit at the sewing machine, and I couldn't wait. So I made Damien set it all up for me at the kitchen table, and I sat there like this little sad thing full of painkillers, cut all the pieces up to make candy shop because I just couldn't help myself to start, to not start it straight away. And I drew all of the little motifs that are in the center out, and then I hand quilted those in afterwards with pearl cotton. And it's such a cute little quilt. It's a really simple one to make. It's quick and easy if you're looking for a baby quilt or, a little like lap quilt to give to somebody. I've seen it done over the years in every color of the rainbow. You can put a big facet floral in the middle instead of embroidering the little designs. It just works for everything. You can fussy cut trucks to put in the middle to make a boy's quilt. It's a really, really good, fun, easy quilt to make. And I don't own it anymore because one of my best friends had a baby, 16 years ago now, I think. And I gave her the quilt for her baby. And it's been through both her children, and she still uses it on her lap when she's sitting in front of the TV. Hi, Flossie. Goodnight, Sweet Prince is the next quilt that I'm going to talk to you about. It's a smallish single bed quilt. And again, very, very easy to make. It's just squares. Essentially, if you're going to make this quilt, the thing you really need to find is the thing to go into those panels. And I'd love to be able to direct you to go and get those panels, but they unfortunately don't exist anymore. The reason that the quilt is called Goodnight, Sweet Prince is because those panels were made by a little Australian company called Prince Charming. Now, the Prince Charming girls, there's two of them, Kath and Kirsten. And if either of you are watching, hi Kath. Kath still has business. Kirsten, I think, is out of sewing these days. They used to do this beautiful screen printing, and they had just started screen printing fabric in their garage when they came into Material Obsession one day. And Kirsten, I think, was wearing a skirt that was like a circle skirt, and it was made out of this incredible multicolored spot, great big spots like this, all overlapping each other like watercolors that they had printed in Kath's garage. And they walked in the door, and Kathy and I looked at each other and we just went, where did you get that skirt from? We have to have that skirt. And they were like, oh, thank you so much. We made the fabric. And we went, when can we have the fabric? I think we'd only been open maybe 2 weeks or something like that. And we had the Sydney Quilt Show coming up a couple of weeks after that. And we said, we have to have your fabric. We don't do meterage. We don't, like, we've never sold it. No, we have to have it. Please have it. Please let us have it. So they printed meter pieces for us, and they printed up those panels, and we packaged them all up and we took them to the Sydney Quilt Show. And it all sold out by lunchtime on the first day. So while we were at the Sydney Quilt Show, they were in their garage madly screen printing and drying things with hairdryers so that we would have more to sew it the next day, to sell it the next day. So that's the funny story behind those panels. I wish that I could sell them to you again, but they sadly don't exist anymore. However, there are so many other things that you could put into those squares. You could also, if you have some of my other applique patterns, you could so easily do a lovely applique panel to go in there and surround it with all the squares. Or if you're looking for a children's quilt, again, buy a printed panel of fabric. You can cut it to size and then just surround it with squares, and you'll find it's really, really easy and simple to make. I don't have that one anymore. I have the feeling I sold it maybe 15 years ago. My dog needed a knee replacement and we didn't have any money. So I sold a whole lot of quilts, and that's what happened to the next one as well. So I was a little bit sad to sell my Summer Sunshine quilt. It's been one of my favourites always, ever since I made it. And it was an interpretation of an antique quilt, as lots of my quilts are. I saw it somewhere in a book and just thought it was gorgeous, and it was a much larger quilt, the one that I saw, and it didn't have the sashing in between. It had the 4 squares, but it was all just white. It was all 30s, very traditional, 1930s mint green for the leaves and all that sort of stuff, and just all white all over with the flowers all pointing into each other. I added the sashing, I added the border. The original quilt didn't have any of that, and of course I didn't have the original quilt, so I drew it all up and drew the little embroidery things and all of that sort of stuff. I would happily make this quilt again. In fact, I might one day. It's so sweet, and it's very simple applique. If you've never done applique before, it's a really nice place to start because it's just the same shape over and over and over again, and there's not too many blocks. You could obviously make it bigger by making a lot more blocks, but it's only a nice small sort of lap size-ish quilt. It unfortunately went the way of the Madam the Dog hip replacement, knee replacement foundation, and I was very sad to see it go, but these things happen, and you know, you've got to make room for the other ones as well. So that's Summer Sunshine. So that's what I've got to show you this week. What I haven't told you about is what's behind me on the wall, which you're probably wondering about. What I'm working on at the moment. This is some blocks from my latest block of the month quilt, which is called Swadki. If you're interested in that, you can still join up for the block of the month program. It's all PDF. You don't have to buy the fabric or anything. There's a large and a small version of the quilt. This is the small version. The larger quilt has a lot more blocks than this one. The blocks are the same. There's just more of them. But yes, this is what I'm working on at the moment. And if you are a Swadki person, you'll see that there's a little sneak peek of this month's block standing behind me. Don't tell anybody. So that's what's behind me. It was on the wall, so I just left it there while I talked to you. The other thing I wanted to answer the question about, quite a few people asked me if I'm going to be talking about Kathy's book, Kathy's quilts in the Material Obsession 1 and 2 books. The answer is I'm not. I don't own any of them. Obviously, they're all Kathy's. I didn't make any of them. They're all Kathy's. So no, I won't be talking about any of Kathy's quilts, only mine. Sorry about that. So next week we have some more Material Obsession 1 quilts, or one more Material Obsession 1 quilt. And then the week after that, I'm going to do that little Dresden tutorial for you that I promised. See you then.